Because we still have a couple minutes here, and I take it you're in Tucson though at the moment?
Yes.
Okay, and how are the lizards doing there?
They're mostly active from like the mornings. They're not quite so active in the middle of the day because it's quite hot here. We kind of just got out of the hundreds, and then they'll be active again in the evening. So still pretty easy to see them.
Well, that means this is a good time for you to give a presentation then. Well, very good. We'll start seeing, again, many streaming in, and I'll still wait a few minutes here.
Okay.
And for those coming in, we'll start in just a few minutes. Today's session is being recorded, just so you're aware. And we do have approval to take screenshots or a photo if you like for social media too. But welcome one and all as we stream in for today's main event. And I think Esther is doing a great job of ensuring folks are muted upon arrival. I'll just post a quick comment here in chat on this too.
Erin, it's Esther. I think we're just about ready to begin. I do want to say I know nothing about lizards, but I will be listening carefully.
Awesome.
Okay, well, welcome. We are at 11:30. I know we're going to have more people come in the first few minutes, but I'll start with our introduction. So welcome one and all. You'll see a comment in chat as you arrive that welcomes you, but also notes today's talk is being recorded, so please be aware of that. And then please post any questions you might have in chat. We'll hold questions until the end, but we will then have an opportunity to address those. By way of introduction, I start off with a photo of a lizard. So where was this taken? Our speaker today, Ms. McGee, did not take it. This is one taken in our own backyard. She's been here in Las Vegas, though, so she knows the Vegas lizard scene, too. But as you're looking at this photo, can anyone find that lizard? And of course, for Ms. McGee, you already found it like before it was even shown, so you don't count. Can anyone see that lizard? I hope you have. Okay. I have no idea what it is. I know it's a lizard, but beyond that, I don't know anything about lizards. You might say, well, what is this about? Find that lizard. Well, this is a fun and fancy game called with the hashtag Find That Lizard that our speaker today, Ms. McGee, hosts every Wednesday. And you can find this on Twitter. Whether you're 7 or 70, you'll find this a fun adventure to enter into the lizard world. So I encourage you to check out Find That Lizard. But again, this is an illustration from our own backyard where we find lizards. This week, we are delighted to welcome Ms. Earyn McGee to our Fall 2020 virtual ProSeminar and Colloquium series. Ms. McGee is a PhD student in conservation biology at the University of Arizona. She received a National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship and has been a 2020 American Association for the Advancement of Science Mass Media Science and Engineering Fellow, which placed her this past summer in Las Vegas writing stories for the Las Vegas Review Journal. And I think you can see some of these stories. So there are a couple of stories she wrote. If you look at the name of the author of those pieces, those are two among the number that she wrote this past summer, serving in that capacity here in Las Vegas. And she was making the rounds, even in the hot desert heat, finding lizards over the summer while all of us were looking for air conditioning. Her research focuses on how lizards adapt to drying stream beds in the Chiricahua Mountains in southeast Arizona. Given her interests in lizards, this raises the question, why are we trying to find that lizard in an anthropology department? One reason is the recognition that a decreasing fraction of graduate students are likely to pursue and obtain tenure-track faculty positions. What career paths will grad students take? Perhaps work in cultural resource management or CRM, in a museum, in a nonprofit, in government. We can foster graduate training that recognizes and normalizes the varied career pathways. In this direction, Ms. McGee has excelled as a PhD student with a focus on science communication. She can talk about her experience and suggestions for carving a path for a PhD and beyond outside of faculty aspirations. A second reason is that concerns over Black Lives Matter and social justice have amplified this year, prompting discussions in higher education and scientific outreach too. Ms. McGee was prominently involved in this past summer's Black Birders Week, a social justice and awareness media campaign that arose from the racist encounter of Black birder Christian Cooper in Central Park and embedded in the shootings of Blacks, including George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Ms. McGee is thus positioned to share how she has incorporated these very concerns into her very prominent outreach. So with that, we let Ms. McGee take it away.
Great. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Peter, for inviting me to be here and for that awesome introduction. I'm really excited to talk to you all this morning, and as stated in the introduction, I'm going to discuss how I'm pursuing an unconventional PhD for my department and how I'm kind of creating my own job post-grad school. But to do that, we kind of have to start from the beginning. So when I was a kid, I always wanted to work with animals. There was never really a time in my life where I wanted to do anything else. So much so to the point, and I don't know how some of you guys as parents are, but for my family, growing up, you did not get sent to the principal's office. The teacher did not call your house. You did not, act up in class. But one day I got sent to the principal's office, apparently because I threw a fit, yelled at this parent because they told me that I couldn't be a vet and that I couldn't work with animals. That's how sure I was, even in like the first grade, that I was going to be working with animals. Now, luckily, my parents gave me a little leeway there, and really they've been super supportive throughout this journey, because instead of saying, oh, you're a weirdo and you need to get a real job, they were kind of more like, oh, you're a weirdo. We still love you, do you? But as long as you leave this house when you're 18 and you don't come back, we really don't care what you do. So for them, the only job that they really knew of that would allow me to support myself and work with animals was for me to be a veterinarian. So for the longest time, that's what I thought that I was going to do. That was, of course, until I went to college. So I did my undergrad at Howard University in Washington, D.C., which is a historically Black university. And before I started there, they had this program called the Health Careers Opportunity Program, which was for pre-professional students who were planning to pursue their MDs, go to school for dentistry, or to be, a nurse practitioner or something like that. And they let me in because technically pre-vet is a pre-professional, even though it's not technically health, like human health. But before that program even started, I visited the school. I met with the director of that program. And after that meeting, I sent her a thank you postcard with my face on it. And I like to think that she saw something in me. During that program, I realized that I didn't really want to be a vet. I was talking to a lot of the med school students, and they were just kind of like, oh, those vet students, they're even more miserable than we are. And I was just like, I don't want to be miserable. I don't think this is for me. But I still wanted to work with animals. So luckily, during the HCOP program, I met my undergraduate advisor, and he let me come into his lab, and he was working with lizards. So during that time, I was a freshman, first semester, learning about different kinds of science. I did this phage hunters program, which is like a wet lab bench type of program. And I really enjoyed it, but I really wanted to stay true to what I wanted to do, which was working with animals. So at the end of my first semester of undergrad, I applied for the environmental biology scholars program. Now, I have to say that my first 2 years of undergrad were not my best. My family was super strict, and I literally went to the other coast, the other side of the country, to get away from them, and I definitely acted acted like it. So I didn't get the email invite to apply for the Environmental Biology Scholars Program. Actually, one of my friends from the pre-professional program that I just talked about sent me the email because they were like, oh, this seems like something that you would be really interested in. You should apply for this. So because my GPA wasn't the best, I had to go in there, with my best face on, like ready to like fight for a spot in that program. And I had to go talk to the director. And I was just like, hey, this is what I want to do. And she saw something in me. She saw my passion. She liked my personality. She liked my style. She liked me, and she admitted me into the program. She gave me a chance. So from there, I did other undergraduate research programs like the Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation, and then I also did an REU program, but it all stemmed from that original Environmental Biology Scholars program, where they really believed in me and they gave me that first opportunity to be able to go out and do field research and learn about what research was in general. And then I was able to progress to these other things. So going from undergrad to grad school. So in the fall of 2016, I started at the U of A. And what I knew from my previous experiences was that I wanted to work with animals, I wanted to do research, and I wanted to give back to my community. So the really awesome thing about my undergraduate experience, besides being able to do research as an undergrad, was that I was able to go to a bunch of different scientific conferences and be in these spaces that I never even knew existed. But I was oftentimes the only person who looked like me in those spaces. And it was kind of weird to me coming from an HBCU and seeing so much, Black excellence. And I'm just like, okay, well, why isn't it translating? What is happening? Where are people being lost that they are not in these spaces like they should be? So I was like, well, I want to give back to my community because I got so much out of my experiences. So that's when I started with the Doris Duke Conservation Scholars Program, and I started as a graduate student mentor. And it was sort of like the Environmental Biology Scholars Program that I did as an undergrad, where we gave undergraduate students research opportunities, let them do their own projects, have them presenting at scientific conferences. And as a graduate student mentor, I was part of my job was to do recruitment, and I was having such a hard time recruiting these students, and I didn't understand why. It was such an awesome program. It paid well, it gave experience. It was 2 years long, and in your second summer, you could research with any government, state, NGO agency within the United States that you wanted to work with. They would pay for it. And so I'm just like, why can't we get any students to come in and work with us? So I was having these questions, but I was also really stuck in my ecology. So as it was mentioned in the introduction, I do my research out in southeastern Arizona in the Chiricahua Mountains, and it's on the border of Arizona, Mexico, New Mexico, and I'm interested in lizards and their diets and how they're affected by stream drying, because I'm wondering, are they eating emerging aquatic insects from stream systems? Maybe, maybe not, we don't know. That's what I'm looking at. But then from doing all this other mentorship work, I'm just like, okay, well, what is the problem here? What are the barriers that are preventing people of color from entering into these fields and remaining in these fields? And so I wanted to create that as a chapter. I wanted to know why I didn't see more of me in these fields. So that's why I started to think about this review chapter on barriers preventing Black women from entering into and remaining into natural resources careers. So that's one of my, so we have 2 chapters already: the ecology, the hard ecology stuff, the stuff that I thought that was the only things that I was going to be doing in grad school. And now I'm kind of moving into like this social sciences sphere here. And for me, of course, that wasn't enough. Just understanding the why of it, just doing the literature research wasn't enough for me. I wanted to create opportunities and break down barriers. And so one of the things that I'm doing is I'm creating this program with my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. They have this program called Delta Academy, which works with middle school age girls to help them advance in school and just personal development and growth. And I'm just like, okay, well, I already have access to this community and these people who are doing the work with this population that I'm interested in. And then I'm also an If Then She Can ambassador, which is also supported by the AAAS. And so through that program, we were all given the opportunity to apply for these mini grants. So I was like, okay, well, I have grant funding. I need another chapter for my dissertation, and I want to break down barriers and create opportunities for, you know, the next generation of women who look like me. How do I mesh that all together? And so I was like, oh, this would be perfect. Let me do this program, and I can, you know, touch all those bases. So that's kind of jumping ahead a little bit. We're gonna have to take it back just a tad. So, what do you want to do after grad school? For me, that was a really hard question to answer, and it's probably a hard question for some of you guys to answer as well. So just imagine that I am a second year grad student and I have a plan, like a serious plan, a hard set plan, a plan that I know that I'm going to stick to because that's who I am, a woman with a plan. So the plan was that I would have my master's in 2 years and the PhD in 3 years for a total of 5 years of funding, which is what I had. And so I'm just like, okay, time is running out. What are my next steps? What is it that I'm gonna do? And I had to like really connect with my inner child, my inner self. And that might sound a little silly or ridiculous or cliche, but it's also really easy to lose ourselves to the expectations of the world, our friends, and most especially our families. Like you kind of get so caught up in what it is that you feel like that you're supposed to be doing, you kind of forget about what it is that you want to do. So at this point, I had started to dabble in social media. I had just started to Find That Lizard, and I was getting a lot of good attention. And I don't know about you guys, but I daydream a lot, and I have dreams of grandeur. Like I just like in my daydreams, I just think of like what is like the most awesomest thing that could possibly happen. And you know, I had to stop discounting those dreams. I had to really be like, okay, if this is something that I think is interesting and cool and something that I might want to pursue, then maybe these can be more than dreams. Maybe this can be reality. So I thought about how I always thought it would be cool to travel the world. I wanted to see like all the cool animals that were out there, and I wanted to learn about other cultures and share what I discovered with others. And so I had to kind of start to conceptualize, okay, what could be a job that would allow me to do all of these things? And I started to think about the shows I watched as a kid, you know, Steve Irwin, Jeff Corwin, like documentaries on Discovery or Animal Planet or National Geographic. And I realized that that was what I wanted to do. But I was too scared to tell anyone. I was too scared to say it to myself. I couldn't even say it out loud. I thought that I was going to be ridiculed. I thought it was going to be embarrassing. I didn't want people to tell me that I couldn't do it. So finally, still in my second year, I had been invited out to my research station and to give a presentation for this program, and my undergraduate advisor was there. And so we were having like this just, you know, candid conversation about life and other things. And he started asking me about my grad program and my future plans. And somehow I got the courage to say it out loud. I I was just like, listen, you can't laugh. Like, this is not funny. I'm being serious. I am coming to you as a confidant. You cannot make fun of me about this. And so I told him, I want to host a natural history TV show. And to my surprise, like, he was super encouraging about it. Here's this, older man who was like super hardcore ecologist and herpetologist, and he had plans for me as a Black woman herpetologist. He was like, I'm creating like greatness in you, and you're like one of the best grad students that I know doing this kind of thing. I want you to go on to keep doing it. So I was really surprised when he was super encouraging about it. He had 100% faith in me, and from that point on, whenever anyone asked me what I wanted to do, I was like, I want to host a natural history TV show. Because if I had his support, that was like really what I needed. Because like he was like really my mentor, and like I really looked up to him. And I was just like, well, as long as I have his support, I'm fine. If I don't have yours, for you ain't nothing special. I'ma just keep doing me. So then at that point, I had these career goals. I wanted to host, well, not wanted, I want to host a natural history TV show, but I also wanted to provide research opportunities to elementary and middle school age Black children and other underrepresented children. So I'm sitting here in my second year of grad school, like, how do I reach these goals? I'm looking to my advisor, I'm looking to my department, and I'm like, how do I achieve these goals? And they looking back at me just like, we don't know. This is not what we do. Because my department makes superstars, but their superstars don't go to be on TV. Their superstars go to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They go to different agencies. They work for different nonprofits regarding the environment. And so they're just kind of like, we're not quite sure what it is that you can do, but as long as you can figure it out and have something that is cohesive and robust dissertation, you go ahead and do what you want to do. And I also have to kind of like emphasize and stress that I was lucky enough to have a department and advisor who had my back like that, because doing something like that, going against the grain so hard, not really like totally being on the outside of your department like that is really hard. And so I think it's awesome that this department is having me give this presentation, because it shows that they're open to something like this. And it's a time when, you have to, I was talking about how I needed to say it for myself and really be vocal and just say what I want, but it would have been hard if I had said what I want and they had told me no. At those points, and I'll talk about it maybe a little bit later, like, you really do have to figure out who your advocates are gonna be, because you can be your own best advocate to a point. As a grad student, you only have so much power, and it gets to a point where you have to find other people who are going to be your support systems, who are going to be like, okay, I see that this is what you want. You don't really have the power to get yourself there, but me as your advisor, or as a faculty, or as the dean, or as whoever, I do have some sway, and I can help you move from point A to point B. So really understanding power dynamics is important. If you don't have that support, that's going to be a super crucial thing. So once I was able to say it, I want to host a TV show. I want to create these opportunities for Black and other underrepresented kids. Then we were able to be like, all right, these are goals, and these goals, there are steps that you can take to get there. We don't know the steps. We're going to make it up as we go, but hopefully you'll also find mentors and whoever along the way, and you'll figure it out. So the first things that we did was to start seeking classes outside of the department. So I did classes in journalism and education. I really just looked through the course catalog for all the departments to see if there were things that were relevant to what I wanted to do. And so for my school, we do have like a science communication certificate, but and I could have did that as a minor, but it was more journalism focused, which is not what I wanted to do. I was more education focused. So my committee was essentially like, okay, well, you should set it as an interdisciplinary minor, so that way your major classes will complete your course requirements for your degree, and then your minor courses will get you the experiences and the knowledge that you need in order to pursue these other goals that are not directly aligned with our department. So then another thing is the internet. For now, at least, Twitter is the future. If you don't have one, make yourself a Twitter. You do not have to be a Twitter personality, but most places, awards, programs, whoever, they have a Twitter, and that is where they're putting all their important information. For most things in life, it's about, who you know, not necessarily just about what you know. So if you're not like in the right listserv, if you don't have like the right person's ear, you might not find out about opportunities, but unless you have some other way of getting it. And Twitter is kind of one of those that main places to like have everything. You can make it really easy to see. You can curate your feed to only have the things that you want to see on them. If you're only on Twitter for work, then you can do that. That's kind of how I started off. My grad advisor, I saw he was on Twitter, and that when we would go to conferences, people would be like, "Oh, Michael, he is so awesome. I can't believe that I'm meeting him for the first time. I know him on Twitter for so long. This is so amazing." And I'm just looking like, okay, I see. Let me make a Twitter so that way I can start talking about the research that I'm doing as a grad student. People can start knowing my name, and then hopefully after I graduate, I can have a job. So I had a very, tight focus on what I wanted my Twitter to look like when I was starting it. And I just essentially was, forward thinking. I wanted a job, not this whole, find that lizard being popular. No, I just, it happened on its own. But Twitter is kind of like the future right now. And that might change at some point, but you should definitely get you a Twitter just so that way you can keep up with different things that are going on. People are putting important updates on Twitter. I found out about the AAAS If Then She Can Ambassador program on Twitter. You just see so many opportunities that you might not see otherwise. And it's also great because a lot of the people who you might know right now might be specific to your department. But if you do want to be interdisciplinary, that's the easy way to access those other people that your department, your advisor, you yourself might not have access to otherwise. It is a way to get to know people from other places and learn about variety of opportunities. So you can be in front of the scenes if you want to, or you can be behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, you probably do want to, I can't stress it enough. There's like so many opportunities there for you to find waiting for you on Twitter. You just have to figure out what you want your Twitter to be, and then just follow those people who are going to provide you with the opportunities that you're looking for. And the other thing is to make a website. Even if it's just like a one-page website, make a website and put the information about you that is important. If you already know what it is that you want to do, put that on the About Me section of your website, because I have had people just like randomly like look me up, and then they're just like, "Oh, I didn't know that you wanted to do that," and they read it on my website, and then they reached out to me, and then that's an opportunity that I have because I was explicit with about what I wanted to do on the website. It was there somewhere for them to see it. Like, there's a lot of times when your name is going to be brought up in rooms that you don't even know about, that you might not even think of. and people might bring up this random information about you that they find on your website, or maybe on your, your Twitter bio or something. They're just like, oh, yeah, we need a person who wants to do videos. Well, I remember this Erin girl, she said on her website that she wanted to do videos, and I looked at 1 or 2 videos that she did, and I think that she might be a good fit for us. And then they'll reach out to you that way. So you be vocal about what you want in all forms, like verbally to people, having it written down on your website and your Twitter bio. Those things are really important. So the next thing is going to conferences and being a part of different societies that are outside maybe of your traditional conferences that you would go to for your department. So SOCNAS is the Society for the Advancement of Chicanos, Hispanics, and Native American students. So you don't have to fit those demographics in order to go to this conference. If you want to go, you can just go. And that's where I first heard about the AAAS Mass Media Fellowship. And I kept hearing about that fellowship even more after that, but that's where I first heard about it. And SOCNAS is really, it is really about, community building, and it's designed for students to help give you the resources that you need to excel in whatever it is that your goals are. So I really love that conference, and I can't, say enough good things about it, because it doesn't even matter. It's not, really focused on a specific type of degree or program or anything, though they do have a lot of, biomedical and engineering and stuff, but that has more to do with cultural things than to do with the conference itself. And they're trying to expand out to more different kinds of sciences and different types of fields, but they're really all about getting you the opportunities that you need to succeed. Then you have the AAAS, the Academy for the Advancement of Sciences. I'm forgetting an A there, but it's fine. You guys probably know what it is. But they are really big in SciComm right now, in science communication. If that's what you want to go into, I would suggest going to one of their conferences. I went last year, and when I tell you their conference, what is it called? When you their exhibitor section with all the different people, like they have it's so much, like a bunch of big names, people with a whole bunch of different opportunities. That's a good place to go to meet people, to give you opportunities to build community, to meet your peers, potential mentors, that type of thing. Then you have stuff like SciComm Camp, which is training for grad students by grad students in science communication. You have NPR SciCommers, which is like a Slack group that you can join, where you can like learn how to pitch stories. If you want to go into like journalism or like do videos and stuff like that, you can learn how to pitch. You can learn how to be a freelancer. You can just ask whatever questions. You can give advice. It's just a whole big community to help people be successful. There's a National Science Writers Association. So you can just learn about all these different conferences and societies, and just like really, you have to expand your bubble, and go to like all these different opportunities that are out there. And once you start going to this stuff, then you're going to start learning about more and more stuff that's interesting to you. And that's where being vocal comes back in, because a lot of the times people are super into it. People want to hear about what you want to do. People want to help you get your opportunity. So you just have to say it. So something that I did over the summer was I was a part of Black AF in STEM. We did Black Birders Week, which mentioned before was founded in part because of a lot of the police brutality we were seeing earlier this summer. the incident in Central Park with Christian Cooper, and we kind of wanted to, we were just like, well, hey, we're scientists, we're here. Why aren't other scientists talking about these important issues that are impacting us, especially when a lot of times they're just like, yeah, diversity and inclusion, woo. And we're just like, okay, so you're saying you guys want to do that, but we're not seeing any real action. So that's where that was born. And the great thing about this is that it's part of my community. I got to increase my community this way. And community is so important if you want to do science communication, because you can learn about so many different opportunities there. And if we go back to, towards the beginning of this presentation, I was talking about the environmental biology scholars program and how one of my friends sent me that opportunity. That's community right there. When you tell people about the things that you want to do, and then they send you opportunities that they think that would be good for you. I send people opportunities that I think would be good for them all the time because they're in my community. Community building is so important because everybody in your community is in, different spheres. People are, across the country, across the world, learning about these different things that may be of interest to you that maybe might not be a good fit for them right then or for whatever reason, and then they forward it to you. So your community should never stop growing. It should never stop changing. It shouldn't ever be homogeneous. You should have like lots of friends, mentors, and colleagues, and that mix can change all the time. So going to the AAAS Mass Media Fellowship. So this program was really cool. It is about making scientists into science communicators. And I was already doing a lot of science communication work before I started this program this summer, but I wanted to do science communication in a different way. And also I wanted access to the network that the AAAS Mass Media Fellowship provides. Because a lot of science communication jobs right now are really based in journalism. They are really, and then other things are still kind of like developing. Outside of that, the journalism focus is the most developed science communication field, I would say, at this point. And so I was like, okay, let me just go ahead and do this. I'm going to try it. I knew journalism wasn't really my focus, but it was such a great experience learning how to write for a news audience. And it's so many different types of journalistic audiences that you can write for. So I was with the Las Vegas Review Journal, comes out, every day, super newsy. And I was really just learning all these new things, and I got to have different experiences. So on the left-hand side, you can see that, I made like the front page with one of my stories. On the upper right, I was able to do a video. So I'm more interested in doing science education video, obviously, and so I really wanted to produce my own video for the news outlet, and they let me do it, and I wrote a story to go with it, and so that was really awesome. Something that's not related to science, I got to be a field producer for their Mobbed Up Live show, and so now I have that field producer credit that I probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Down on the bottom right, that's a photo of a snake that I took that got published in a real actual newspaper this summer. So I thought that was super awesome. So it really allowed me to have these different types of opportunities. And now I have access to this awesome network of SciComm professionals. I have access to the people who I've worked with, my editors, producers, at the Review Journal. And so this program is really great for that. Here is just kind of like some information for the program's important dates. So before I applied, I was working for the Southwest Climate Adaptation Science Center, and I was already doing a lot of like news writing for them, doing blog posts. I was creating their newsletter and stuff like that. So having those little experiences on the side really helped with writing a 750-word news story. You have to have a general writing sample, answer some short answers, 2 letters of recommendation, CV, resume. And this is like one of those things where you definitely want to be yourself and show them your personality, because they have so many awesome and qualified applicants each year. Like, you really want to stick out by showing what your passions really are. So the quick rundown of the application process for anybody that's interested, and I can answer more questions about it later if you guys want, but you just submit those materials from the previous slide. You do an interview. You fill out a survey to help the managers place you with the best location that fits your interests and fits their needs. You do a 3-day training. You do 10 weeks at your site. And then you wrap up, and that's the program. And that's a really quick overview of the program. It's short, but feels long at the same time. And I would encourage you all to apply if you want to go into science communication and science writing. So, getting back to the lizards, we're going to have a little fun here before we finish up this presentation. So again, going back to the really staying true to your own interests. So something I had wanted to do since I was a kid was get into photography, but I just never did it because I just wrote it off. I was like, oh, this is too expensive. My parents are never gonna let me do this the way that I want to do it. I'm just not gonna get into it. And that's how a lot of people get shut down from doing awesome things, because they feel like that they have these perceived barriers instead of just doing the thing. So I just kind of started taking pictures of lizards while I was out and about and sharing my experiences. So one day I was out in the field and I needed to recapture this lizard, and I really needed to catch it because in this particular site, it was super dry. We didn't have a whole lot of lizards. Every lizard counted for my sample size. And I was like, I got to go get that lizard. And the lizard was like, you are not going to catch me today. So I'm literally like running after this lizard. I am chasing that thing, trying to catch her. I think that I almost lose her. And then I'm just like, okay, she's gone. And I just look over my shoulder, and there she is on a tree. And the only reason I saw her was because of a bright orange 5 that I had put on her back. So we use paint pins to mark them. So just in case we don't catch them, we can see them from far away. And we're like, oh, we saw, number 5 on a tree. We know that she's still here, type of thing. And so I shared it on Twitter, and people were like, you say that there's an orange 5 that breaks up her camouflage, but we do not see it. We don't see a lizard here. And so they were just like, you should do this more often. This is kind of fun looking for it. And so I was like, okay, that's cool. I could post a picture and I can tell you some lizard facts to go with it. And that's kind of how Find That Lizard was born. So I've been doing the game for about 2 years now. I got in a lot of opportunities from it. The most satisfying part about it, to be honest, is the fact that other people enjoy it, and I get to go in the comments and see what people are saying, and people can be hilarious sometimes, and it's really awesome to see the community that's been built at this point. So I want to know if you guys can hashtag Find That Lizard. I have, oops. Oh yeah, this is right. Okay, I have a poll here. Let me see if I can get it up. Okay, so this is the first one. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the poll here. I'm gonna give you guys a couple of seconds to see if you guys can hashtag Find That Lizard for this one. And don't worry, if you can't find this one, I have an easier one coming up next. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. That's like 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, and there it is. So that's the striped plateau lizard. It's one of my study species. They're really cool. They like to hang out towards the ground most of the time, and oftentimes you'll find them and they're a little bit dirty because they like to burrow underground. All right, here's another one. This is the easier one. All right, can you find that lizard? I'm gonna give you guys a couple seconds here. See if you can find it. And hopefully you can find this one because it only gets harder. The next one is gonna be kind of hard. All right, I'm gonna give you guys a couple more seconds. Hopefully you found it. There it is. All right, this is the last one. This one is kind of hard, but I believe in you guys. You've had some practice, you had some warm up. You can do it. Can you hashtag find that lizard? All right, so this one is a greater earless lizard. It's probably going to be a little bit bigger than you think it is. They're called earless lizards because they don't have like external ear openings, and it's thought that it's because they like to burrow underground and it prevents sand from getting into their ears. And so they're really cool looking. The males actually have like some bright colorations on their backs, and it's surprising how it actually still blends in a lot with this, pretty brown, mostly uniform colors of either, being really brown or green. All right, this last one, I'm gonna give you guys a few more seconds and then I'll move on. All right, well, I hope you found that lizard. I hope you enjoyed it. This is pretty much the game. I post a picture of a lizard camouflaged in its natural environment, and people have to find it. And I'll give them cool information about the lizards. And sometimes that information will contain hints. Other times it's just because I think that it's cool. So how does all of this come together? So I said at the beginning that what my goals were was that I wanted to host a natural history TV show, and I wanted to provide research opportunities for elementary school age Black children and other underrepresented children. So what did I do for that first one? I created the following. I started producing my own videos. I got the ecology, natural history expertise. I did various fellowships. For the second one, I went out and I took relevant classes. I'm doing that research to gain the expertise with my review chapter. I'm going to be leading a small scale project with the AAAS IFTHN ambassadorship mini grant that's also working with my sorority. So that's me getting funding, using existing connections to find appropriate partners. I'm bringing in speakers. So there's all these different things that kind of just like bring it together where I'm interested in the animals, but I'm also interested in science communication and advocacy and supporting underrepresented groups. And I kind of found a way to mesh it all together because I was true to the things that I was interested in. I was vocal about it. And I found like advocates who would speak up for me when I couldn't speak up for myself, and I built community. So those are the main takeaways. Be you. If you have your personality, if you have your personality hidden, like people can't see it. People won't be able to give you like the appropriate opportunities. People won't be able to be like, oh, I see something in her. Her GPA might not be where it needs to be right now, but I see that passion poking through, and so I'm going to give her this opportunity anyway. Be vocal about what it is that you want. You're your own best advocate, most of the time. When, if people ask you what it is that you want to do, be honest and just, you're just going to have to say it out loud, because that's how you get opportunities. Find advocates for the times when you can't advocate for yourself. That's super important to have those people, because, right now, I'm sure that there are times that my advisor has had to, advocate for me, partly because of me. I know there are some things, but other things because other people don't have the vision that we have for my degree and the things that I want to do. And he kind of like shields me in that way, because I wouldn't be able to fight for myself otherwise. And then build community, because you can't do this alone. This is not like a one-man band here. You have to have the people who are going to pass opportunities your way, your support system. You're going to have mentors who are just like, well, we're not quite sure what it is that you want to do, but we support you in whatever way that we can help you. That's what we're going to do. Or you can find mentors who are like, oh yeah, I've done this before. You can do X, Y, and Z thing, and that's how you end up here. So again, be you, be vocal, find advocates for yourself, and build community. And that's it. So thank you guys for coming today, and hopefully this was helpful.
So thank you, Ms. McGee. That was terrific, wide scope. We have about 10 minutes left. So what I would ask is if anyone would like to post their comments in chat. And then Ms. McGee, I think either I can moderate if we have a slew of them, or if it looks like they trickle in at a pace you can handle, then you might be able to take them directly. As we're waiting for any comments in chat, I have to ask all of you, can you find this lizard? Does that look familiar?
Yes.
Look at that. So our speaker has her own merch. If none of you have your own merchandise, you need to get on this. And Karen Hari, I don't know if you're here, but one of our archaeologists, for example, was on Rob Riggle's TV show, I think last year, wandering around in Southern Arizona, I believe. So Karen Hari, you should have a shirt with Rob Riggle, for example. Saying that, terrific. And let's see, what do you think of the chat, Ms. McGee? Are you able to handle this, or do you want me to try to handle it?
No, it looks pretty good so far.
Okay, so saying that, that does look manageable. Why don't you sort of scroll down? If you can you see the comments in chat?
Yeah, I can see the comments. No questions yet.
So we've got a lot of positive applause and enthusiasm.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Couldn't tell. I don't know if you can tell. I was a little bit nervous here, but.
And I think this is great too, because clearly we have a lot of grad students here. We also have some undergrads and faculty. But this is, I think, a terrific message, particularly for all the grad students here who can envision being in your kinds of shoes, presenting something like this, but also in the thought process you're fostering here.
Yeah. So the SciComm Fellowship was the AAAS Mass Media Fellowship. And so that is for people who are in like the hard sciences and the social sciences, trying to become science communicators. So, yeah.
Any other comments or questions? I'll also say for the grad students who are here, once we close at 12:30, there'll be another 30 minutes where grad students can stick around with Ms. McGee just to have an additional exchange. I know, for example, one of our grad students is preparing her own NSF GRF application as we speak. So I'm sure she'll pick your brain on that. Even if it's not anthro, there'll be some parallels, for example.
So general pointers for communicating scientific knowledge. So I would say that from my experiences with Find That Lizard is that a lot of people are, like amateurs, and in the sense of they don't get paid to do the work, but really they're experts. Because they have like all this like local knowledge, or they're like super into whatever it is that you're talking about. So like a lot of the times when I'm doing stuff, it's because like these like amateur herper enthusiasts are like, yeah, we like this type of thing, and let's have a whole discussion about like this super complex topic. And I think a lot of the times what science communicators get wrong is that they dumb things down too much, especially if you're coming from, you know, academia and a specific science background. Like it can be like easy to be like, oh well, they don't have the experience or, you know, the education that I do, so they don't know what they're talking about. Whereas like they actually might, you know, have a library 10 times the size of yours and know very specific things. So, and then also like a lot of times there's like community knowledge about a certain thing. So like really understanding that Western knowledge isn't the end all be all of science and science communication. So knowing your audience is really important. Who is it that you're talking to? Are you the right person to be communicating to them? Is the information that you want to teach relevant to that audience? So those are some general pointers for communicating scientific knowledge to the general public. And, you know, just have fun conversations with people. That's what I like the most, is that it's like it's fun. Like sometimes people make it like super like they come from like a elitist position of like, I am the person with all the knowledge and I am gonna, you know, do you a favor by bestowing this knowledge onto you. No, it can be like super fun. Let's see. What have you found has been the biggest challenge in orientating more towards SciComm, and what has been the biggest positive surprise? The biggest challenge probably has to be my own definition of success and being a scientist, because when I came into grad school, I was very hard science, very ecology focused, and I was definitely super afraid of people not thinking that I was going to be a good enough scientist if I decided to go this other route, and people kind of like doubting my expertise. And so I doubted myself, and I denied myself my own interest for a lot of times because I was worried about what other people thought. And the biggest positive surprise was actually getting so much, you know, support and enthusiasm from all the people who I thought were going to judge me, my advisors, my parents, my friends, but really they were super supportive, and I was able to find a community of people who also were interested in doing similar things. Like it's not like I wasn't alone. Like a lot of the times, like it's really easy to think, when you think of a thought, you think that you're the only one who has ever thought that thought, and you're not. Like other people probably have thought that thought too. Like you're special, but you're not as special and, you know, as you think you are. So kind of like handling your own ego a little bit there. The thing that you were trying to get us to apply for, so it was the AAAS Mass Media Fellowship. So you might not necessarily get paired with the review journal. They'll pair you with different news outlets across the country. So I got paired with the review journal. There was a news outlet in Seattle. There was one in like New Mexico. There was NPR. There was Scientific American. It was a bunch of different outlets that you can get paired with. So beyond the realm of journalism and nature programming, where do you see mass media SciComm being impactful? What media are best suited to sharing knowledge and instilling social science? I think that is going to be impactful just in general in everyday life. Like people, like there are lots of people to varying degrees with interests in various topics, and people who want to learn more but might not necessarily have the time to, you know, get a master's or a PhD or whatever in that topic, but they still want to get the information. And so that's where SciComm comes in, where you can present those easily digestible small pieces of information that people are craving. And the media that are best suited for sharing the knowledge depends on the person. I think the person who is giving the information, because some people are just great writers. They are fantastic writers, but if you put them in front of the camera, they're just gonna be a potato. And it's like, what? I'm a potato, what do I do? And then they can't convey the information that well, because they're shocked about being in front of the camera. So it really depends on what the person, what their skill is, what their interests are, and then that will come out in the media. And different types of media have different goals. So and it depends on where you are. Like sometimes people might not be in a watching a video mood. Maybe somebody will be in a looking at a picture infographic mood. So it really just depends. Like you need a whole bunch of different types of media giving the same information for people to really get it, because you never know what mood they're going to come across your media in.
So Ms. McGee, we're at 12:29, so I think it is time to transition out. The good thing is, if anyone wants to continue the conversation with you, you're easy to find. You've all seen, and thank you, Alyssa Crittenden posted in chat your Twitter handle, and you can also do the hashtag Find That Lizard. So you're very easy to find. If others, and look at, we got another shirt wearer. All right, you got 2 lizards in the house. People, including with people who don't normally hang with lizards. So that's really, really impressive. But thank you for a terrific talk. For grad students who want to continue the conversation, Esther will handle the logistics of this. We'll ask everyone else to sign off here if you're not a grad student in Anthro, to continue that conversation with Ms. McGee. Otherwise, I'll share the applause you saw in chat and heard loudly. Thank you very much for a terrific presentation. And this has been inspiring and fascinating and wide-ranging and awesome, and a great way to spend a Monday during 2020. So thank you to our speaker, Ms. McGee. And I'm going to sign off too, as now Esther handles the logistics for the next step.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Erin. Okay, we're going to stay on the call for a little bit and wait for folks to self-select out. All right, let me take a quick look at our participant list. All right. So, Erin, since it's a small enough group, if people want to send a chat to you, then they can unmute themselves and have that direct dialogue. That might be one good way to try and manage this.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
And while they're waiting to ask questions, I'm going to ask you if there is any particular lizard that is your favorite.
Yes, so my favorite lizard is Slopper Jarl Spiny Lizard, because it was the first lizard that I ever got to work with. And it's the one that, it was the species that got me into research. It got me into herpetology. I love it so much that I actually got a life-size version of a lizard tattooed on my leg.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is there any quality of that particular lizard that makes it so wonderful, besides it being the first one that you did significant research on?
I think it's really cool because before working with that lizard, I just assumed that all lizards laid eggs, but turns out some lizards, like Jarl Spiny lizards, give live birth.
Very cool.
I have a question for you, Erin. That was an amazing talk. I loved it so much. And I will probably message you outside of this to hear more. But I'm a current NSF GRFP applicant. It's due very soon in less than a month. And I was wondering if you had any broad advice or specific advice with regard to the application. And you've talked so much about, bringing your voice to these applications, as well as other things that you do. Other opportunities, but I was wondering if you had any advice for that.
Sure. So the cool thing about the GRFP is that you don't have to do the project that you wrote. So if you end up changing over time, that's okay. So it shouldn't be like super like hard pressure. It should be more of the things like, okay, if I got this money, this is like a project that I could see myself doing in the future. Like you're not beholden to that, but it should be something that you're already really interested in. It should be feasible for the amount of funding that you have in your degree program. The thing that I think probably is the most important is to get like a lot of feedback on it. So you should have a draft written, fairly soon, because I think the deadline is like early October, right? Or mid-October. Yeah, you want to send it to people like outside of your department for you to read, to read it over for you and to give you advice. I forget the name of the website, but there, if you Google something like GRFP applications, like there's a website with like some other applications available that you can read in your discipline and others. And then the other really important thing is to read the instructions thoroughly, because they will kick you out for any like little reason, because there's so many applicants. So like you have to dot all your I's and cross all your T's, make sure that you are hitting every little piece of the instructions that they're giving you, that you have every single component in there, even if it's just like one sentence addressing something in the prompt. Like you need to have that one sentence in there, because you don't have a whole lot of space, of course, but you need to address, like, read that prompt, read it all, like every single word, read it like 5 times, read it thoroughly, make sure that you have in your application everything that they're looking for. So that way you can't get disqualified on technicality.
Thank you so much. I'm currently going back and forth on drafts with my advisor right now, and it's been probably 3 weeks worth of going back and forth already. And I've heard even that applications have been thrown out because one word was spelled wrong. And the reviewers didn't like that. They thought it was unprofessional. So thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Hey, sorry.
Hi.
I am looking on the wrong screen. Let me just pull myself over this way. Okay. So thank you for a great talk. That was really fun. So I've been creeping your Twitter the past couple of minutes, just kind of like going through. And oftentimes it feels like you're tweeting things that, aren't necessarily related to your research. And I find that I've been told on my own Twitter, or, they tell us like you should not be political, you should not be these types of things when you're on your social media platform. And I just don't feel that I could be that way. So what is your own toolkit for knowing when to retweet or what to talk about?
So I rebuke the devil who tells you not to be political, because science and life is inherently political. There is no way to get around that. I can't, stop being a Black woman just because I'm a scientist. That doesn't change anything. I have to be all of the things at one time, and I have all these different things that affect me. So for me, I just post whatever feels right to me, regardless of what other people might think. And that is definitely difficult, because depending on where you are, you can definitely get pushback from that. But luckily I have, my advisor who's super supportive. So if somebody wants to run to him like he's my daddy, then that's fine. He's not going to do anything. And it's just kind of like, well, I have my funding already. You're not going to stop me from getting this PhD. There's a whole big science Twitter community where if you post something ridiculous like, oh, don't be political on one of my tweets or something, and I tell you to, go away, then, other people are going to have my back. And so it's one of those things of realizing that you're not alone, and it's not going to be the end of the world if you post something political. And as a matter of fact, there's like a lot of people who are too scared to do it, and so they're happy to see you do it. And it hasn't hurt me in any particular way. It can definitely, I'm not going to say that it doesn't cause problems, because it can, but it hasn't caused me any major problems. But you have to be true to yourself and to your interests, because like at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. And if you're over here ignoring issues on an online platform where you don't actually have to like talk to anybody face to face, like how are you going to speak up when you have to, face an injustice in person, and you actually have to get a reaction from somebody in real time? So it really is one of those things of just, however you feel about it. And, not to knock anybody who doesn't, if that's how, because like just understanding the power dynamics and understanding the realities of the world, if you don't want to, then there are perfectly valid reasons for that. But if you do want to, then I say go for it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Power dynamics and how you came into yours. So what do you mean by how I came into mine?
Hi, it's Esther. So my ears really perked up when you mentioned that phrase in your presentation, because I was thinking, wow, Erin is so, you're so comfortable as this Black professional. You're owning exactly who you are. But you talk about times of doubting yourself, and then you were speaking about how to understand the situation that you're in and who's advocating for you, who's not advocating for you. And so I was like, wow, I never thought about it, but that is power dynamics, and it happens every day. And how do we begin to be aware of it and then potentially, use it as the tool that it is?
Yeah, so I feel like there's been times when, even from like undergrad and, even back in like high school and stuff to now, where it's been times where I faced some sort of adversity. I spoke up for myself, but that didn't get me the reaction that I was looking for. And so then I was like, okay, well, clearly I do not have the pull to do what I feel needs to be done. Let me go find somebody who does. And that's kind of when I started to like understand power, what like kind of like see power dynamics, because like it really did take me a long time, and it took me some reading to understand what power dynamics were and how they operated. Because like even as a kid, oh, the teacher did something bad to me, well, I can't talk back to the teacher, I'm gonna have to just go tell my mom what happened. Like there always been power dynamics. It's just you have to figure out exactly what they are and how that they work. So when I entered grad school, I was already like, well, I am coming in here to mess things up, to change the status quo. Things will never be the same after I leave out of here, but I'm going to need to have people on my side, because I know I can't do that on my own. So I started, looking for these different power brokers, these different people who are in position of power and will be able to help me do what I want to do. And so that's kind of like I came in from, and I can't even tell you how like I figured it out. Like it's just like, one of those trial and error types of things. Like things happen, I realized that I don't have the power to do what I want to be done, having to go find the other people to do it. So like I kind of like throughout like all of my experiences put that together and realized, okay, I need to have powerful people on my side, because I am not currently in a position of power in the way that this world that I'm entering is set up, and the way that academia is set up. It's set up by, you know, what is your degree? What is your job? How many papers have you published? How much research are you doing? There's this hierarchy, and currently I'm close to the bottom, with, you know, undergraduates probably being the bottom, but so I'm pretty dang on close to it. And so that's pretty much how I kind of like visualize things of, there's power going on. I don't have a lot of power, so I need to go find the people who do have power. So I hope that kind of explained things. I'm not sure if that was super clear.
It was. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that an important part of your journey into following the path that suited you best was how you redefine personally what success meant as a graduate student. And I wanted to ask you to elaborate on that a little bit more, specifically focusing on how you were able to come to terms with your own intentions and with your own definition of success as it was formulating.
That's a good question. It definitely took a lot of time and a lot of intentional thought and a lot of support from, you know, my advisors and friends. And I was just like I'm sure my advisor got tired of hearing me ask him the same question, where I was just like, I'm not less of a scientist for not having these, you know, ecology parts right. And I was just like, I'm still going to graduate even though I have these social science aspects to my dissertation, right? And so I just needed, you know, that reassurance, because sometimes like people like to, you know, be all about, you know, self validation, but sometimes you do need validation from other people who you look up to and who are important mentors to you, and whose opinions you value. Like a lot of times people are like, oh well, you shouldn't care what other people think. Reality is that we're humans. We care what other people think, and sometimes we need their validation. So being able to, you know, have successes and see the growth of Find That Lizard in my social media, science communication, and then have my support system, all of that validating me, I was able to learn how to validate myself, where it's just like you have like that little bit of self-doubt in your head, and you have that little bit of, you know, negative self-speak that it can be hard to get rid of. But when you have some forms of outside validation, it becomes easier to self-validate.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss Erin, I'm just checking in again. If we don't have any more questions, we'll give people back some time and we'll give you back the rest of your day. Are there any other questions?
Looks like one last question.
There is one.
Yeah, so next steps is I am hoping to start with a natural history TV show, and, you know, figuring out like how to get into that sphere even more. I want to start creating more videos and stuff, so I made a YouTube channel, and I really want to start creating more videos for that, and definitely just being involved with like the various communities, and some of which I've already mentioned, like SOCNAS or the NPR SciCommers, and just like finding what like-minded individuals to kind of help me start to like think about the things that I want to do. So like one of the cool things about the Mass Media Fellowship is that after we finish, they started like this mentor program. So I'm working with someone who does videos for different media outlets, and she is going to be helping me kind of like think of concepts and series ideas and start kind of maybe storyboarding and writing out scripts for episodes and things like that. So it's going to be definitely a lot of science communication in the future from me. Also, very important, I need to write my dissertation. That is also a next step. I need to graduate.
All right. Well, if there aren't any more questions, we're going to thank you so much, Erin, and I will send you this link after we're done, as you asked me to tape it for you. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Erin.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Bye.